Well, hello, this is Yvonne Teoh Bource from Connect to Soul with your weekly soul wisdoms for September the 3rd, 2018. So, last week we did Spirituality Part 1 and we talked about the wake up call. You know, that moment when you suddenly realize that there has to be more to life than this, and we do that either through trauma, through a mystical experience, through something a friend said, just, something tells you that you have to stop and you need to regroup and you need to find different answers to how you've been living your life. So in part 2, I want to talk about what happens next, and what happens next is that we have to go on a very courageous journey of self-discovery. So self-discovery is about an assessment where we sit down and we decide, well, up until now, what I believe in and what I have been running my life by, how much of that is working for me? How much of that is old conditioned patterns that were instilled by my past experiences or people that were in my past? How much of it that I am repeating is a habit? So the journey of self-discovery takes a lot of courage, because it takes an enormous amount of self-honesty, and it needs to be done without judgment. We are so self-critical. And so when life isn't working for us, rather than looking for, solutions that are going to be expansive for us, we often blame ourselves or shame ourselves. And that, of course, never works. So this journey of self-discovery is about becoming an observer, about looking at yourself from a distance and observing how you are operating up till now. I always think about my car. I love my car and I love driving. But if something isn't working in my car and I take it to a mechanic, the mechanic instantly says to me, well, let's take it for a drive. And he needs to do that to be able to hear. He listens to the engine to see if there's something is missing, something's not connecting. And so you drive around the block and he listens and he goes, okay, I think I know what the problem is, or I don't know, let's open it up and have a look. But you expect the mechanic to know what to do with your car so that when you pick it up, it's all running smoothly and beautifully as you would like it to be. But we don't do that with us. This physical body is the vehicle of your life force. So when things aren't working for you, we take it somewhere else and ask for someone else to look at it. But we don't spend time listening to ourselves. Self-discovery is all about going within for the answers rather than going outside for the answers. And that takes time and it takes dedication. And you don't have to do it on your own, as I always say. All my work is about guiding people to create a new you. Because if the old you isn't working, then you have to make a change. So self-discovery is all about changing something. And it starts with little things, but most importantly, it starts with awareness. You can't change what you don't see or what you don't recognize or what you don't acknowledge. So self-observation is essential to be able to notice what actually isn't working for you and what doesn't feel good. Now, I talk a lot about don't do what doesn't feel good, because what feels good is aligned with your energy. What doesn't feel good is telling you that there's something in misalignment, something that needs to be tweaked. But we have this terrible habit of just pushing and pushing and pushing, and we're just too busy. Yes, I'll look at that later. How often do we come into crisis when we have many times already had warning signs, and we've gone, oh, we'll do that later. With our bodies, oh, we'll just go and see a doctor later. I'm fine. Hey, I'm the worst at that. But then I have some training behind me that I can make a fairly good assessment of what's going on with my body, and I do listen to my body. But we are so busy in the outside world, either accumulating stuff or working for somebody else who wants us to accumulate stuff. We're just all looking after our children, of course, which takes up a lot of our time and our energy and our emotion, that we don't seem to put in special time for us. And to go on this journey of spirituality, one of the first things that has to be put in place is time for you. You have to have a spiritual practice. You have to have a time that is devoted just to you. So if that means that you have to get up earlier than usual, I remember when I first went on this journey, I had 3 young children, and they had to go to school, and I had to wake them up at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I used to get up at 4:30. 4:30, I would get up, I would meditate, and I would do all my affirmations, and I would do my reading, and I would do my self-discovery, I would do my writing, my gratitude, and at 7 o'clock, I had given me time. And before I go to bed, and I still do it, I get up at 5:30 every morning, and I devote at least 2 hours to me, where I don't have to do anything. Well, that's after I fed the cats so that they don't interrupt me. But, we have to slot in time. One of the reasons that I started running spiritual retreats was because I believe we need to retreat. We need to go somewhere to nourish and nurture ourselves, just for us. And funnily enough, that actually does not mean going to a beach holiday and pouring lots of alcohol into a glass and partying, because you're still very outer directed. A retreat is about retreating within and listening to you, having pure time just to pay attention to your own needs, your emotional needs, your mental needs, your physical needs of rest and relaxation and rejuvenation. These things are essential if you're going to go on this spiritual journey, because you have to look after you. If you are constantly looking towards the outside to be satisfied, to be gratified, then you're missing it. Because the most important thing is you. Without you, you have no life. And we forget that. We think life's out there. No, life's in here. Everything out there, you can only experience in here. So why are we so disconnected from in here? Why are we so disconnected from understanding that the life is within? It is not out there. The experience is lived within. And if we do not take care of the within, then the without falls apart. But we think because the without falls apart, the within falls apart. It's back to front. So the more time that you put into self-discovery, the more time that you start peeling the onions of beliefs that are not really yours, that somebody just gave you and you took on board without thinking, the habits that you have got into that are not serving you, your behaviors, your reactionary behavior rather than responsive behavior, all of those things, once you see them, you can change them. And what do you change them to? You change them to a place that gives you peace of mind and that feels connected to you. I am astonished at how many people come to me and say, I feel lost. Well, of course you feel lost, because you are not connected to the most important thing in your life. You are not connected to this beautiful, beautiful creation that you have to experience this amazing life. We don't give it any love, we don't give it any support, we don't give it any consideration. But one thing we do give it a lot, and that is punishment. We overtax it, we don't rest it enough, we blame it when it doesn't work properly, we abuse it very often with the wrong foods and substances and alcohol. All of these things, and we still expect it to keep working for us. So the more time that you go within and listen to what your heart's desire is, and that means that your mind has to be stilled. You have to say no to your mind, because your mind, until you take control of it, it is controlling you, and it can only control you by past experience. Your mind is what it has experienced in the past. It has nothing to do with the future. It creates the future from past experiences until you take control and you make decisions in the present about what you'd like next. If you don't do that, your mind's already running amok. So this time of self-discovery is so important for you to be able to sit down and really have a good discerning look without judgment at how you have been running your life up till now, and where can you make changes to make it feel better. If you're in a job that you don't like, leave. Oh, I can hear you say, oh, that's easy for you to say. No, it's not easy for me to say. It is absolutely a sign. You either leave or you change your perception of what you're doing and how you're doing it. They're the only choices you have. Most of the time, people are in work situations that they don't like, but they do it because they want to pay the bills. We did not come here to pay bills. We didn't create ourselves to pay bills. We came to be a significant part of the human evolutionary process. And we do that through expansion, through feeling more, through learning more, through being more. So if you are in a state of self-discovery and you find out that you're becoming less, you feel unfulfilled, that your potential is slipping away from you, then you have to stop, you have to change. Everyone has come with a gift and a talent, a propensity towards something that they love, that turns them on. And so often, because it usually comes fairly easily to you, and because you love it so much, we feel that maybe it's only something we do in leisure time. Because how many of us are brought up to believe that we have to work hard, we have to make a living, we have to get a job. Wonderful words. None of them feel good. No one really tells you that what you need to learn to do is to go within and find out what you're made of, what are your gifts and your talents that you have within you, and how can you skill up on them, and how can you then put those out there in service of others that is going to be expansive for them and for you. Now, wouldn't that be lovely if people told you that? Then you wouldn't worry about the fact that you can't understand mathematics, but boy, you just absolutely know how to make plants grow. Because you would leave the mathematics to somebody who loves that, and you would know how to grow plants. We have this very boxed in education system with curriculums that say you must learn this and you must pass that. And how many of our children, and I know I hated school because nobody was teaching me what I wanted to learn. I learned after I left school. That's when I was free to go and find out and learn what I wanted to, not when someone else was telling me how to learn. Unfortunately, the system is still like this, although more and more changes are being made, and I applaud that. I know that, for instance, beautiful Goldie Hawn, who has set up this amazing educational system called Mind Up, and if you haven't heard about it, Google it and find out about Mind Up if you have children. It's absolutely wonderful, where we teach children how the mind works right from an early age, so that they are in control of all of this and they don't have to do what we have to do now. So there are changes being made, and there's more and more homeschooling, because more and more parents are, disenchanted with the system, and they want their children to be more rounded in their knowledge base and in their education. So of course there are changes, and we are in the middle of those changes. But for us on this spiritual journey, we have to go back and look at what we've taken on board that other people have told us we have to have, that is so far removed from really what we would want to be and what would fulfill us. I've always, as a child, I had a calling to go into healing, because my mum was always ill and I wanted to help her. So from very, very young, I wanted to be a doctor, but of course I think I shared this with you before. I had a teacher who told me that women just didn't become doctors in my days. And by the time that I would finish my training, I would be married with 5 kids, which of course never happened. So I didn't go into medicine, but what I did do is I went into nursing, the old-fashioned type of nursing, where I was very connected to patients, and I thrived. I moved into the operating room and worked, of course, in there for many, many years. But when I left that occupation and went on to my next occupation, no matter what I did, I used all of my gifts and talents in service. From a very early age, I was very good with my hands, and I was taught by one of my beautiful great aunts. She was a handcraft teacher, and she taught me knitting and crocheting and embroidery and all of those things, and I loved knitting and I loved crocheting, and I was very good at it. And so when I left my nursing career to bring up my children, I went into that as a profession, and I ended up designing knitwear and writing patterns and pattern books and publishing a pattern book. And so I again did something that was a natural gift to me, and I loved it, and I did it very well. This is actually one of the garments that I created in those days. And so, again, I loved what I did, and I used it in service, and it was a talent I had. After that, I came back again to the healing modalities, and of course now in this profession for the last 30 plus years, it's all about a different kind of healing. It's about healing, the wound itself, the wounded child. I'm running an inner child workshop in November, which the link you will find in the description box. Because that inner child, we have so many problems with that. So this journey of self-discovery is about finding out what we're made of, what is true for us, what is our truth. I always remember when I was in the operating room, we had a surgeon who was reasonably, he was average. There were some that were brilliant, some that were, but he was average. Not so much that he wasn't good at what he did, it was not a natural gift. He had to work at it, and he was not a happy man. So one day I asked him, why was he a doctor or a surgeon? And of course his father was one of a very, very well-known knighted surgeon here in Australia. And so his father had followed his father's footsteps, as so many children seem to do in those days, and I hope they don't do it just blindly anymore. But what he really wanted to do, and was never allowed to do, he wanted to become a motor mechanic. So he devoted his whole life to doing something that he really didn't want to do. So happiness was just not possible for him. So what I really want you to take a good look at when you're going on this journey of self-discovery is how much of your time are you devoting to things that don't make you feel expansive, that don't make you feel good. How many things do you do just out of habit? How many things do you do out of fear? All of those things need to be addressed, and they need to be changed. It's really, really difficult to give you all the means and the ways to do that. There are so many books written, and on YouTube you can get so many other things. If you go down in the description box, you'll find a whole lot of links to my website and programs that I run to do all of this work. And of course, my book, The Secret to Life, gives you lots of tools to help you along. And it's all about discipline. So if you want to go on this journey of self-discovery, you have to become disciplined to have a spiritual practice. You have to set time aside for you where you can focus on this. And you focus on learning who you really are. And then the next step, which I just love, is that you now decide, who do I want to be? So far, I've been pleasing my mother, my father, my boss, my friends, my spouse. But who do you want to be? What do you want to be? Sit down and write it down and go, if you didn't have to ever pay a bill, if you never have to worry about anyone else's approval or expectations, what would you like to be and do? Write it down. And then lean towards it, as I always say. You look at it and you go, well, what's stopping me? And then you start to understand that it's your thoughts and your fears that are stopping you. It's other people's opinions, expectations that are stopping you, or your own expectations. Fear of looking silly. Just go and do it. I was listening this morning to a clip, and please look it up. I think it was a podcast actually with Paulo Coelho with Oprah. I think I've talked about them before. And of course his journey is fascinating because he was so outside the box from an early age. He never wanted to do what his parents wanted to do, and he was so outrageous that he actually was put into a mental institution 3 times because he would not follow the norm. But he always wanted to write. But his family wanted him to go to university, and they wanted to do all these things. And look at him, and look what he's written. The wonderful books that he's given to humanity that might have got lost had he not continued to rebel and follow his dream and follow his heart. So if you're not doing that, it's time. If you're listening to me and you're not doing that, it's time. It doesn't mean that tomorrow you just resign and give up whatever you're doing. It just means that you start to acknowledge that this is not the way that I want to live for the rest of my life. And I'm going within to find out who I really am and who I'm, and what I'm made of. What am I? What turns me on? What excites me? What do I feel passionate about? And you lean towards that. And then you start to skill up on that. And then when the time's right, you can make the transition. But most importantly, you have to stop and pay attention to the needs of this one. Sadhguru always says, he's a wonderful mystic in India, take care of this one. Pay attention to this one. Because this is where life is. Here, within you, not out there. Out there is what you see. In there is where you feel the experience of what you see. So take care of that. Take care of that. Self-discovery without judgment means that you take a good look at your life and you look at the things that you love and the things that don't work for you, and you do more of what you love and you do less of what doesn't feel good. The more you do and you are what you love, the more you will love you. The more at peace you feel. And after all, isn't that what we're after? To live a peaceful life. You can only be at peace when the inner you is not saying, what about me? What about me? You're not listening to me. When you listen to you and you fulfill that inner calling, then you will have inner peace. And that's what the journey of spirituality is about. It's not about finding spirit outside, it's about finding the human spirit inside, the life force inside, and to get aligned with it. So I would love to hear from you. Tell me where you feel that you need some more alignment. And I'd like to have feedback about your journey of self-discovery. For me, it was letting go of all my opinions, all my beliefs, and starting afresh. Wasn't easy, but I was determined. And even to this day, every day, I spend time with me. I listen to me, and I make me the most important thing in my life, because without me I couldn't be sitting here talking to you. Without me I couldn't be loving, smelling the roses. I need me for that, and I need me at peace for that, because if I'm not present with me, then I'm missing it, because my mind is all over the place. So I hope that this is giving you some encouragement to take time out for you. I have mentioned the spiritual retreats, and I have to say that the May retreat is booked out. I will take a waiting list, so you can still go to the link in the description box. The September 2019 still has one place available, and so it looks like we're going to have some wonderful retreats in Bali in 2019. So if you still would like to go, please contact me and let me know, and I can put you on the waiting list. Sometimes people, things happen, and you may be fortunate, and if you're meant to be there, you will be there. The November Inner Child workshop is booking up very, very quickly, and that's in November, on November 10th, 11th, 2018, and that's local. 2 days, wonderful days of self-discovery and healing the inner child. Absolutely wonderful. If you can make that, I can't encourage you enough. I will not be running those again. I haven't run them for a long time. I was guided to do it this year. I don't see any, I haven't had any guidance to do another one next year, but you never know. All I know is that I'm doing this one, and so if this appeals to you, again, contact me, and the link is down below in the description box. Also, if you would like to do any one-on-ones with me, contact me. So, as I was doing this, I did get a card, and it was interesting to me because, I look at the Oracle deck and I go, oh, okay, what's this? So this one I used is Keepers of the Light, and I've used those before by Carl Gray. So this is the card I picked up, and it is called Soul Expansion. which is exactly what I'm talking about, because the more that you discover in you that you have hidden talent, hidden blockages that you release, as you release those hidden blockages, you create expansion. And that's what this whole journey is about. And it says here, your consciousness is expanding. That's what we want. You understand the connections between all things. And that's what the journey of self-discovery is about. It is to reconnect all the disconnections. So, let me know how you are finding this journey of spirituality, and have a great week. And I shall reconnect with you, all going well, next week. Have a beautiful day and week. Take care of you. You are the most important to you. This is where your life exists, not out there. Love yourself more and expand.